Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified, Makia Video Productions, and Frank Melli Productions, with additional support from Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.
Hello, welcome to Meet the Farmer TV. I'm Michael Clark, a local farmer, engineer, and proponent of alternative agriculture. During this economic crisis, we will explore how you can benefit as well as support local community food systems.
And so these are what we sell as the field greens that are, much lower price, but they're tougher and grittier, and we have to wash them. You see the larger tot soy, you're used to the micro tot soy, there's some of the big stuff. So this is one of the systems that we do to get multiple cropping out. And then this is a continuous production also. You can see the rows are in different stages. And we have, there is a special machine we built on that tractor over there for making these beds.
Oh, okay.
This on the right is actually the flower house where we grow your roses.
Oh, okay.
We'll go in there in a minute and look at those. So these were all hot peppers and pumpkins this summer, and now we've removed our weed fabric and our drip irrigation, and we've retilled them and planted spinach. And we can see there are various stages of that spinach, so we'll have continuous spinach for you through the wintertime and into the spring.
So it does grow then in Virginia all year round?
Yeah, we can see here sort of a middle crop, nice little tiny, and sometimes we'll take these just as baby spinach, where we'll pull the whole thing up. But these are beets. So in your micro root mix, you get the baby beet greens.
Correct.
And here's the bigger version.
Okay.
And these are grown mainly for, instead of the bulbous part of the root, these are grown for larger beet leaves.
Okay.
Like this, where we would pick, you can see it's, if you want a baby beet, we've got that.
Okay.
But we've also got baby beet leaves. So we would go out and individually cut those to get those nice leaves. And we have the same thing here with the kale, where we grow a red kale.
Okay. I remember getting some of that last year.
Yeah. So this is and so we have to come out with scissors and select and cut these perfect little leaves. And you can see there's, we've been doing that some, and then we cut the big ones off so that we get more of the young ones growing.
So everything is hand cut then here? Nothing's...
Yes, there's no machine harvesting in what we're doing here.
Okay.
And it's all done specifically based on your requirements and specifications of that size and what you want. That's why they're not $1 a pound in a big case.
Right.
And so we'll see here, this is some spinach that we are harvesting right at this time. You can see he's cutting some of the baby spinach now.
Okay.
And we've been cutting it pretty hard for Thanksgiving, so there's not a whole lot left, but there is some. Let's go take a look.
What are those larger plants?
The big yellow things are, it's a Kinko Pak Choi.
Oh, okay.
And they're so yellow that everybody thinks they're bad, but they actually grow that size and color. But we don't sell very many of them because they look like they're yellow and gone bad, but that's their natural color.
Oh, okay.
Now you can see a mustard green here. That's a brighter color. And so you can see this is a nice little mustard green.
Oh, okay.
You can taste that. It's got a good bit of spice and fire to it.
Needs a little bacon.
Yeah. And then these are what he's cutting right now, these baby spinach leaves. So you can see we have to actually go through and find the leaves that we want, allow the other ones to grow, and then if it's not so rainy, we'll actually be weeding these by hand. We can use some tillage in between, but it's all by hand through the middles of those rows.
Okay. So how long does it take to get that large?
Well, this is probably from the end of July, beginning of August. These rows were planted right at the sort of the end of one of the melon seasons. So we tilled in those melons and recycled the plant waste and put in these fall greens.
Oh, okay.
So it does take some planning, many months ahead to put in the right sequence of things.
Right.
So actually, in the beginning of the year, we're looking at each of these beds and rows, saying, all right, we're going to grow melons, and they'll be finished at this time, and then we'll move in the spinach. The peppers will go on till frost, so they'll get the later spinach.
Right.
So there's a whole sequence of things. It's almost like you moving customers through a restaurant when you've got more customers than seats, how you set your reservations up. So we're doing the same thing in the farm. And if a big party cancels, your whole scheme gets messed up. So we have the same situation here.
So then do you grow in each individual row multiple things at one time? Or?
We can. These are just sort of volunteers that came in that were intended to be spinach, and some of the seed from the other crop remained. And that's part of the natural growing system without herbicides. We don't totally sterilize the soil each time. So you'll get self-seeded residues from the crops previously. Okay, so these are the things we're growing outside, and we grow them year-round. We also grow some more tender things inside. So we'll cut some spinach to take into the restaurant later. We could talk a little bit about now is, if we look at this plate here with the edible flowers and these little roses, it would be pretty hard to make a phone call and even call California and have miniature roses, edible roses sent to you and have them be worth anything. And we certainly couldn't grow them for you now in December if we didn't have that commitment that you're buying them every week all the way through the year. So we can spend the tens of thousands of dollars it takes to put up that special greenhouse and dedicate that square footage, and then make sure we pick each of those roses at a prime time, because we know you're going to get them at a certain time each week. If you just called up this morning and said, oh, give me the roses, and we hadn't been watching and collecting them all that time, we wouldn't have what you wanted. So that's part of that arrangement that we have of a commitment throughout the whole year, and in that way we actually hold the same price. So when we have 10 times as many roses in July as we have in December and January, we're still charging the same price. So you're able to do your food costs. Do your accountants ever get a clue on that this commitment actually is meaning that you're not getting a spot? I mean, here we are in a world that oil is $49 today, and it was $149 a barrel 3 months ago. And so the consumer doesn't trust prices anymore. They think it's all fake. But you and I are really working hard to keep these long-term arrangements, and having the same price on some produce year-round is a pretty odd thing.
And I mean, and that's where you brought up earlier, you know, that's the benefits of having a partnership and being local, that you and I can sit down and you and I may argue on some things, but normally we both come out on top, where I'm getting what I need and you're getting what you need. Where if I was trying to buy this from California and I'm on the phone arguing with somebody, they could be holding the phone out here going, I'm not listening to you anymore, and have no clue of what I'm saying. And by that, I get angry, I stop using them, and all of a sudden on our dishes you start seeing things, you know, beautiful flowers disappearing. You know, a lot of people, still today, a lot of people don't understand that you can eat these roses or eat the violets, or to them a garnish is a garnish. It would be like sticking a piece of plastic on top of your food and they're picking it up and setting it to the side. But as time has been going on, and we educate our staff to let them know that you can eat it, and we're actually putting other things than just taking a rose and popping it in your mouth and eating it, because that is foreign to a lot of people. We're starting to see more and more and more people actually taking advantage of what we're putting on it by saying, hey, that is local. You want to support the local movement, don't just pay for it, actually try it and eat it. And people are actually starting to do it now.
One of the things that's happened to us as growers many times is we will have a grocer or a chef will say, please grow me this. I want yellow heirloom tomatoes. I can buy hundreds of pounds of heirloom yellow tomatoes. Do that for me next year. And we do it, and you know, and we spend months getting that ready. And we show up when we've got all these beautiful tomatoes, and there are 3 of our buddies the same day walk into the same door with the same tomatoes. And that's been a real common approach that kind of comes from that accounting side. Get the suppliers fighting over your business, and then when the 3 of them are standing there and you can only buy from one, the guy that's willing to go lowest gets the sale, you get the best price. But for me, what I've seen is then all 3 farmers refuse to grow those things ever again.
And that's really where, you know, it sounds redundant, but it's a relationship that we built. You know, if you tell me you can give me something and you say this is the price, then I factor that into my dish, and in theory I shouldn't look anywhere past that. You know, it is tempting sometimes when people come in and it's the same product, but then it really comes down to cutting it open, putting a little salt and pepper on it, and popping it in your mouth and comparing it. And I've done it with, you know, beef cuttings, seafood cuttings, all those things, where I bring in those three guys and sit them down and say, listen, I believe all you guys have the best product, and you might be the cheapest and you might be the most expensive, but let's see what tastes the best. And if we sit down and we cut into those, you know, technically the same heirloom tomato, and we put a little salt and pepper on it, and we all at the same time eat it, and you go, that's good. Or one has no flavor to it, and then the other one has just a little bit of flavor, and you're the guy that's got the most flavorful tomato, and you're the most expensive tomato. To me, it's better to buy the most expensive tomato because it carries the most flavor. I feel like that's where a lot of restaurants and chefs kind of go to downfall, because they'll look at a price on something and say $15 a pound versus $7 a pound. But when you actually taste the $7 a pound item, and you're like, well, there's really not a whole lot of flavor to that, and you taste the $15 a pound item and you're blown away because it tastes like it came right out of your backyard and you grew it yourself, then it should be justified that you're paying $15 a pound, because what you're actually giving people, and if it's $30 on a plate that you're eating, you want them to eat the best thing possible that you can get into your own hands. So,
well, that's interesting. So really what you're saying is the price is the only thing that's really quantified about the food.
Right.
And it really depends on someone like yourself, a chef, to quantify that other part of what is the standard of the flavor. I mean, if you buy vitamins, you get some milligrams, or you get some test result from a lab that's supposed to tell you which pill has more of the active ingredient. But with the flavor in the food, it really is up to your artistic decision. And you don't ever give a number to the accountants that they can put in that spreadsheet to factor that this $1 thing only has a tenth the flavor, so the $2 actually is half the cost.
Right. And to me, I've always had the mind frame, you know, and it's really only been the past couple of years since I've really broadened my knowledge and taste buds on things. But a lot of people go by recipes. You could go by recipes on pastries and desserts and those type of things, because it is more of a science where you have to have the right proportions on things. And I've been a chef that, you know, people constantly harp on consistency, consistency, consistency. And you can be consistently bad as a company or a restaurant, and you'll still have a ton of people come and eat your food, but that's what they expect. So when it stays that way, it stays that way. When you buy more of the mass-produced items, you lose a lot of lack in flavor. You know, like the tomatoes are not as robust flavor, they're not as juicy, they're really mealy and just kind of watery things you're putting in your mouth.
It's just something to put on the plate.
Right, and so, you know, I've had it time and time again where it's hard to be consistent when you have a set menu. Everything is organic. Everything, you can pick 2 tomatoes at the same time off the same plant, and they're not going to taste identically the same. And with that being said, when you're doing that, you can't really create a recipe off of 5 pounds of this, you know, a couple teaspoons of this, you know, a pat of butter here, a pat of butter there, because everything in life tastes completely different. Just because you pick one apple off the tree doesn't mean that one on the other side is going to taste identical to that. And I feel like people kind of forget that whole mentality of it's things that are grown from the earth, that everything does taste different, that you can't get exactly the same taste off of things. So when that is said, you have to be able to look at the locally type things where they're picked right off of the vine versus buying something from California that is cheaper, but it's being picked when it's still green. They stick it in a warehouse, they let it ripe, then they put it on a truck. It takes anywhere from 4 to 5 days to get over to the East Coast, or vice versa. You know, things that are indigenous to the East Coast that go over to the West Coast, and you're not getting the quality or the flavor of what you're really buying.
What we're really saying here is the only thing that you can consistently get is low quality. So you can either lower your quality standards to where you know you can always get it. You can get something red disc that you can call a tomato on a burger. And as long as you don't worry about what it tastes like, you can get it at all kinds of low prices, and you can get it any time of the year. But if you're going for that highest quality level, it's very similar to the problem we have. We grow these beautiful microgreens, and we show them to you, you go, yeah, I want that every week. And then we're like, oh man, that was the best we've ever done. Now we got to do it all the time. So we kind of share that search for excellence. And in this partnership where you agreed to continue to support my efforts, and I agree to continue to support your efforts for that excellent product, we're both sort of artisans in that way.
Right. You know, it's you know, if you're eating a burger and you're eating a frozen patty, and then your buddy's sitting next to you and he just hand ground his own beef that he pulled out of his backyard, and he's got, you know, heads of cabbage, because for some reason, he liked cabbage on my burger. Yeah. But, you know, lettuce, cabbage, whatnot, onions, all those type things. And you're sitting there eating a generic burger that anybody in the United States can eat because it comes out of one warehouse. I'm jealous of the guy sitting next to me eating the homegrown, hand-ground type stuff, and I want to eat that.
But so that's really what you're trying to provide your customers.
Right.
Something they can only get from you, the chef artist.
Right.
And you need the same high-level ingredients, and you can really only obtain those from a local source that will continue to work with you through the process.
Because you know, like I said earlier, I can't form a relationship with somebody, especially vegetable-wise, fruit-wise, any of those type things on the West Coast, where it grows prominently year-round because of the climate and all those type things. You know, I could do it with a fish purveyor on the West Coast, calling them up and saying, listen, I'm not paying you because you didn't send me the right things. I can't call them and say, when exactly that orange is ripe in California, I want you to pick it and send it to me, because by the time it gets to me, it's already turned and spoiled, rotten, you know, it's getting mealy, those type things, and it's losing the vibrance flavor that you get if you live in California and you actually pick it from your tree and you peel it right there and you eat it. So the only places I know on the East Coast, in Charlottesville, that is a lot colder than I wish it was, is, you know, certain purveyors, you guys being, you know, primarily the main one, because a lot of the other people can't keep up with the consistency of the fresh products, and they lack the ability to create the relationships that we do.
Well, that's great, Jeff. This has been really good talking about these things and help me understand more of where your artistic search for excellence comes from and how we can support that. We'll talk some more about what we're going to grow for you next year, but let me get out of your way and let you do your work and create some beautiful dishes for us.
That sounds great.
Thank you. So Amanda, tell us about the different things that you use, drinks and simple syrups, and a Thai basil syrup, a rosemary syrup, and there's something called Liquid Love. Tell us all about that.
Okay, so in this cocktail, we use a rosemary simple syrup, and we get our rosemary from a local grower, local provider. So in this cocktail, we have an edible rose provided by local growers that we top this cocktail with. And in this cocktail, we get our Thai basil from a local provider, in which we make a Thai basil simple syrup to go in the cocktail.
Are there other products that you use here, beers or wines or something like that come from the local area?
Yes, we definitely support our local wineries and in the greater Charlottesville area. We also carry several beers that are brewed out in Crozet, so that's not too far from Charlottesville. We carry their whole line.
So as you can see, as we've been working with Jeff at Blue Light Grill, there are a number of interactions that we have to go through to make the product grow at the rate that he wants, to get the products that he does want, to make sure our transitions as his menu changes work. Here we are in the Charlottesville Holiday Market, mid-December. There's light snowfall. We've got craft vendors, we've got food vendors. We've even had a seafood vendor with fresh local seafood. So let's talk to Stephanie Malloy, the city market manager, and find out more about this holiday market and how the city market went this year. How has the city market been performing in the recent year compared to the last years? And how many years has the market been going on?
The city market started in 1973, and it's been increasing by leaps and bounds. Especially, I only have experience since 2003, but sales, we reached over almost 1.1 million this year, just for the city market. We also have Farmers in the Park that was started last year, and that is a Wednesday afternoon market from 3 to 7 at Mead Park, and that actually did really well this year too. It did better than its pilot year, and so we were pretty excited about that.
So the past year, it was the record-breaking year of all the years the market's been going on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This year we broke 1 million, and I think the most ever sales was 2002, I want to say, and that was like 413,000.
Wow! So this year's more than double the previous record. And did you work with the Piedmont Environmental Council on the Buy Fresh, Buy Local campaign?
I have, and I continue to work with Piedmont Environmental on lots of different things. So we're working on a conference for food processors now, and I work with the extension.
Well, tell me about
office.
the food processors. We just did the whole kitchen inspection thing with
VDAX.
VDAX and Alan.
Ollinger.
Yeah, and he's actually lives right out near me, and we went through all kinds of things, and he came through and said, "Oh yeah, it's all beautiful." So.
Yeah. After you filled out piles and piles of paper.
Yeah. One of the things we're trying to do also with VDAX and Todd Haymore, the Commissioner of Agriculture, is to get them on camera talking to us and telling us about what's happening, so that people can see that they're really trying to help the growers. It kind of comes across when Alan comes there and says, "You can't sell that," or "Your scales are condemned," or when those inspections happen, they get kind of a bad side, and then everybody wants to fight them. Yeah. And there really is, their charter really comes from, let's help the people not make mistakes, so they don't have errors, and then we'll stand behind them. So if they come and inspect your kitchen and then somebody says they got sick from your food, they're on your side saying, we checked they did what they needed to do. So they're really trying to help you with some of that liability. So we're trying to get a good story to show that they're not, because Alan said, I hate coming inspecting the markets because everybody thinks I'm this bad guy shutting them down, and all we're really trying to do is just get these, and the requirements aren't that difficult.
No, they're not.
And if you and they really are best management practices, which every farmer wants to do anyway for saving money. So. If you could tell me a little bit about, because I know you get caught in the middle of that sometimes, where vendors are like, why are they doing this? And we have a segment with Christine talking about the law that they got through and the not for resale labels.
Which so I found very confusing this year. I mean, I understand. I thought I understood the thing that they got passed, and I ended up that I didn't really. So.
What was the confusion?
Well, we found out when Alan came to the market, this sticker only applies to certain things, and like baked goods, non-hazardous foods, not hot pepper jelly, not things with eggs in it, so, which is kind of confusing because cake has eggs in it. Right,
but it's not a hazardous food.
That's right.
But a custard is.
Right.
Ice cream's hazardous, but not cake.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just kind of confusing. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I'm working with PEC and the Extension Office to try to create a conference. It's still we're just planning it now, and we're more or less trying to, get a meeting time that everyone can come.
So is this a conference to get the vendors and the officials together just to talk about what it is?
Yeah. We're trying to break down the intimidation factor, because it is intimidating. You know, because we have, you know, at the market we have some little old ladies that have been baking cornbread muffins and cookies for, you know, 30 years. Yeah. Well, they don't want anyone in their kitchen, and I understand that, and I respect that, and that's why the Christine Solemn John Coles thing was so wonderful for those little old ladies that are just baking non-hazardous things.
So they put a label on it that's not for retail,
not for resale,
and that's totally fine.
Right.
There's something going on now where some vendors think the market ought to go to November instead of October, or through November, and I know you had sent out an email about that and didn't get much response, and one of the vendors is kind of taking it on to search a little farther. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, basically, there's a vendor who brought the idea up to me, and of course, I think it's a pretty good idea, as long as we have produce into November. I mean, I guess it really depends on the year, what you have available. Some people have it all year. So we basically are putting some feelers out there to find out who's interested, and we're going to look into seeing if it's possible.
If it's possible.
You know, to use the parking lot into November.
How many vendors are there now? Over 60?
Oh, yeah. We average about 89 vendors a week. 89
every Saturday. And here at the holiday market?
Here at the holiday market, it's probably more like 35.
But that's still a lot of participation when there are places like Waynesboro and Richmond and
Harrisonburg.
And Harrisonburg,
built a brand new one.
Yeah.
The city sees the value in the farmers market, and nothing's going to be done. You know, they're not going to sell the lot unless there's a home for the city market.
Okay.
I mean, they see the value and know that the market is so important to Charlottesville and the residents.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for taking this time in the snowy, cold December market. And we look forward to the new warm season.
Yeah, me too.
And we'll cover some more stories, and hopefully we can get every vendor at the market, get a story of every vendor at the market for Meet the Farmer TV.
Oh, that'd be great.
So next week we'll explore the deeper values and hidden benefits of local food systems. We'll also look at how waste products can be recycled into chicken feed. For more information about Meet the Farmer TV, visit our website, meetthefarmer.com.
Meet the Farmer TV has been made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified, Pt.2 Video Productions, and Melli Productions, with additional support from Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.